chime in what's happening with your favorite KFAN shows, you can. It's very easy. You can make your voice heard on the Brad, Sean, Bryant KFAN text line. So let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. At 64686, standard text message and data rates apply.
Joining me now from the picturesque and scenic exotic location of Utah, Paul Charchian joins me at Paul Charchian VX. How you doing, Charchie?
I've missed you.
I've missed you as well. I missed the idea of, now I wouldn't have been there anyway just because of how things have changed. I missed you guys being at the Combine and Jordan Reed of ESPN potentially keying us in on some safety or a corner. You watch 7 YouTube videos, and suddenly that becomes the focal point of all things Vikings into the draft. I need you part of the draft coverage. I need you part of the Combine coverage, Charch.
Well, I know. Maybe I just have to pay my own way and just join and just foist my way back onto the feast and make it happen in Indy. I should have done it this year. I did not. But in fairness, I just got back from whiskey weekend. I still have whiskey coming out my pores, and it's a process to get ready for that.
Yeah,
back from that takes
what was the winning whiskey of whiskey weekend?
I'm glad you asked. Now, bear in mind, we've done this 17 years, and you can't bring a bottle that's ever been there before. So, nobody's bringing Jack Daniels, right?
Yeah.
This is all, it's gotten a little bit more obscure, but that also is part of the fun of it. The winner this year, the last bottle standing in our March Madness style double elimination whiskey weekend, American Rambler. It was warm, a little spicy. Yep. Super smooth, and it's affordable. It's about $50 a bottle. It's widely available. I think this is one of our great finds. More recently, we had one called Pipe Dream. That was another great find that you can spend $40 a bottle, and it's really good.
Yeah.
American Rambler was very good, and it's affordable and widely available. And that's part of the whole goal of this whole exercise, is to unearth some great whiskeys that maybe you were not familiar with prior.
Have you ever considered a tournament of champions style where you take, maybe you survey the group? You mentioned 17. I think you do 12 a year or something, or however many are in the group. But maybe do a tournament of champions, previous year's winners, duking it out for what could become the ultimate supremacy in whiskey weekend.
Yeah, we have talked about that because we got plenty of winners now. Now, some of them you can't get anymore. Like, there are some limited release bottles that people have brought and ended up winning. And so part of the problem has been, up until recently, we probably couldn't get 10 bottles. But I think now we're at a stage where we probably could. And so, that may end up happening sooner than later. Hopefully as early as next year, which would be fun. Get the 10 available winners that we've got. See who ends up winning. And maybe, I'd have to tell everybody. I was thinking maybe I could surprise everyone and just be like, hey, you're not going to believe how great all these bottles are. You're going to love them. But I think they know when I'm not asking them all to bring bottles.
Absolutely. Plenty to get into in terms of the Vikings, the Combine, and the draft. I do want to kind of start maybe 10,000-foot view. I'm sure you saw or heard the comments, both Kevin O'Connell and acting GM Rob Brzezinski getting the chance to sit down with PA and Pete from Indy. Was there anything just kind of 10,000-foot view style of the purple that stuck out to you over the course of this week as Steam Central continues in Indy? And then over the next 2 weeks, you got a lot of levers to be pulled. This process, these wheels are going to start spinning a heck of a lot faster in the days to come.
Egan's trying to walk this fine line between saying we still believe in J.J. McCarthy and we have to have another better reliable option than J.J. McCarthy. And that, we've seen, sort of the vague statements about the timeline. And, it seems pretty clear that this team is not going to stand pat and just bank another season on JJ. And I think that's appropriate. And I think most of the fans would say the same thing. I don't think most people don't want us to just give up. on JJ at this point, and I don't think they do either, and you don't want to sell low on him unless you're convinced you have Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Right, Nordo? I mean, the 49ers went, whoops. They figured out pretty fast he ain't the guy, and they moved on, and they tore the Band-Aid off early. What the worst case scenario is you've got Zach Wilson, and you pour seasons into him. You don't develop a backup plan because you don't want to threaten your starting quarterback. And that's you got to fall somewhere between Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, and with JJ. And we don't know enough to know where he is on the spectrum of potential greatness or being a complete bust. But if this organization does not, based on everything they saw, if they don't think this is redeemable, then they should tear the Band-Aid off with JJ. But otherwise, you got to just bring somebody else in that can give you functional quarterback play. And that seems to be the overall messaging at that position that I've been getting.
Well, let me ask.
That's how I read it. Do you read it differently?
No, I do read it. And again, the move that they make as it pertains to QB, which we put together a list here off the air that we can just kind of hit our level of interest in as potential options moving forward. But, I kind of look, if Kevin O'Connell, if the months go by, whatever the addition is, it starts to become quite apparent that they're pushing the chips again behind J.J. McCarthy, that McCarthy is going to be the starter in 2026. Is it the level of faith that you have in JJ's growth at this stage, or is it more about the level of faith you have in Kevin O'Connell in that decision making? Does that faith remain that if we go back with JJ in 2026, that the coach has seen something that he's ready to continue forward with?
Well, Kevin O'Connell's probably on the hot seat as well, right? I mean, I don't think Kevin O'Connell's going to be fired at the end of next year. It's something, it'd have to be something catastrophic would have to happen. But Kwesi's departure means Kevin O'Connell is carrying the burden for team success on his shoulders.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else to shift any blame. And, we don't know how much friction there was between Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi. They both always talked about having this cooperative front office,
glowingly,
right?
Yeah.
In which the scouts, and Kwesi would talk to the coaches, and the coaches and scouts. They always talked about that. But life isn't that simple in the NFL pressure cooker. Coaches and front office people blame each other all the time in the NFL. It's just not public. Coaches are saying, we'd have more wins if you'd get me better players. I'd look like a better coach if you got me better players. And the other side of it is the front office is saying, I'm giving you good players. You're not coaching them up. We told you this guy was going to be good in this scheme. You had to use him this way, and you're not doing it. I mean, that stuff happens all the time. We don't know how much, if any, of a fracture there was between Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi. But I find it very interesting, Nordo, the only person gone from the Vikings front office is Kwesi.
Yeah.
Nobody else, right? And, you look at the drafting failures, the bad signings, all the things that led to Kwesi being fired, but it was only Kwesi. Nobody else had that level of accountability. So it makes you wonder a little bit about whether there was some friction between KOC and Kwesi in particular. And now KOC's, it's KOC's team now, at least from a perception standpoint. And, at some point, this team will have a final general manager. Maybe it's Rob Brzezinski. Maybe it's somebody else. But, for this season, this is going to be a KOC season. And I don't know if I'm Kevin O'Connell. To get back to your original question, I'm giving a very long-winded answer for which I apologize.
All good.
I don't think if I'm Kevin O'Connell and I'm risking much of my career on this season, that it's McCarthy, it's McCarthy or nobody. I just think if you're Kevin O'Connell, you've got to have a backup plan that doesn't have the potential to turn you into a 3-win season and risk your career.
Yeah, I that's where I was kind of going with this on the backside was, yes, the pressure of having to win feels like that change. And he even mentioned kind of we're on a different trajectory or timeline now, to paraphrase what the head coach said. So that lends to the idea that this isn't going to be another Brett Rippon conversation as we get into the QBs. But as we've looked at this, Charch, and you've chronicled this, we've talked about it a bunch 9 to noon. in terms of what's out there, I mean, my goodness, the spectrum of what the Vikings could add to that room is broad at this point. So I got six names. I got six names in front of me. And if we can just gauge our relative interest level and we'll start with the steamiest to steamy. Yesterday, I saw out of Indianapolis some reports of mutual interest between the Vikings and oft injured Anthony Richardson. The former slinger, of course, with the Gators, 4th overall pick, and injury issues. I think he's only played maybe in 17 or 18 games thus far. And what do you think about Anthony Richardson to the mix, Mr. Charchian?
Extremely low interest in Anthony Richardson. I mean, all this because Kevin O'Connell was caught on mic giving 2 sentences of encouragement to Anthony Richardson a couple of years ago after the epic Viking comeback against the Colts. I don't think there's much more to it than that, and people just connecting dots, knowing that the Vikings front office is looking at all possible quarterback options, and Richardson is going to be one of those. He won't not be a Colt after this, but the Vikings already have one young, often injured, mobile but inaccurate passer, and we've seen plenty. We've not plenty of Richardson. We've seen some Richardson, but what we saw, remember 2 years ago. He started most of the season, I think 11 games.
Yeah.
Here is where Anthony Richardson ranked out of 36 qualified quarterbacks.
Uh-oh.
In 2 years ago with 11 starters. You ready, Nerdo?
Yeah.
Here we go. 36th out of 36 in completion percentage, 36th in interception rate, 36th in success rate, 36th in passer rating, 33rd in yards. It was... We already got one of those guys. We don't need 2 of those guys. 2 young projects with guys that don't look like they've got NFL passing or have not demonstrated yet that they have NFL passing success. So I think Anthony Richardson to me is a non-starter for where this team is right now. Interesting, if you had to give a 7th round pick, would you do it? Well, maybe, but I don't even know if I want that in my quarterback room for sure.
Yeah, it's a big no thank you for me. It's not just the inconsistency. By the way, that ranking system, that was not ascending in quality, right? That would have been descending.
No. Yeah, correct. That would have been last.
Okay.
Those 36 out of 36 were definitely last.
I can just kind of hit that little sort button there and maybe just flip that.
Right at the top.
If only it was that easy. The injury situation for me, the fact that he hasn't been able to stay on the field, and that is a conversation, of course, with J.J. McCarthy. So I think you found your way to where I was going with it in terms of I'm kind of adding a guy with a ton of unknowns to supplement a guy with a ton of unknowns. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, I'm definitely out on that. Now next on the list, there's some unknowns here, Charch, because we know that he was here. That's one thing we know, but we don't know how this Achilles is going to pan out for Daniel Jones. And this is a guy entering free agency, maybe some steam that the Colts would like him to come back, but it seems unlikely he's available for week 1. But Daniel Jones certainly will be available to sign mid-March. What do you think about DJ?
Yeah, this one's super complicated. They could tag him. And I wouldn't blame the Colts if they did. Tactically, if they can afford the money, tactically, it would make a lot of sense because it would give you yet more options down the road. And if they don't, where do the Colts go at quarterback?
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson's going to be gone. Riley Leonard looked shockingly competent, but we don't know if he's going to ever be more than a backup. But he was the 6th round rookie that got forced into action at the end of last year. And it's small sample size, just a couple of games, but he actually looked pretty good. And he's a case in point to me about why you always draft a quarterback until you've got a proven franchise quarterback. And even if it's the 6th round, you might get Riley Leonard, who could be good. But for Daniel Jones, you have the torn ACL 3 years ago, and then the torn Achilles and fractured fibula last year. Kirk Cousins did not look the same off of his Achilles. It's frequently a 2-year injury for quarterbacks for them to regain the stability and the strength on that leg. And he's also a guy he's had clavicle, ankle, hamstring, ankle, neck, ankle injuries that he's missed time with over the last 5 years.
Ugh.
And as good as he was for the Colts in the first half of the season, I don't know. I mean, I have interest because obviously the Vikings know him and like him, and they think that he's a good fit. So Daniel Jones, to me, I'm intrigued if it turns out that they end up passing on him. It would also solve, if he's not ready for week 1, it would let you be able to say, well, J.J. McCarthy's our week 1 starter.
Right. And but that
not hem you in on a future starter past that.
But he's not winning on competition. He's winning on reps while the other guy gets better or recovers and rehabilitates. And I'm not sure how much that elevates the room. How about Malik Willis has gotten a lot of pub because of the work that he did in substitution of Jordan Love in Green Bay. And I don't see him as a fit schematically, but other than that, very limited opportunities for Malik. What do you think?
All right, so he's going to make, the estimates are $30 million a year off of an incredibly small body of work since Tennessee. And as a reminder, in those 2 seasons with Tennessee, Malik Willis was horrible. He started 3 games. He didn't top 99 passing yards in any of them. I mean, double-digit passing yards in the NFL in 3 games is absurd.
Yeah,
got sacked in all 3 games. He did not throw any touchdowns in the 3 games with Tennessee. Then he goes to Green Bay 2 years ago, had to make those 2 emergency starts when Jordan Love had his groin injury. And in those games, they only let him throw 14 and 19 passes in those 2 games for the Packers. One was against the Vikings, or was it? Did he play a whole game against the Vikings? Did he start against the Vikings 2 years ago?
Oh,
I remember that correctly.
Malik. Did he, Brett?
I want to say that was Love's first game back from the groin.
No, that was 4th round. He was back. He was awful in the first half.
He played against the Colts once.
Colts and Titans.
That's
Colts
exactly right.
They won both.
Yes, that's exactly right. So he came back.
Right.
Love came back just in time for the Viking game, and you're exactly right. He was horrible in the first half, and then amazing in the second half. And they almost won the game. But then this year, Malik Willis, right? He started half the game against Chicago, played really well, and people are like, "What? He can pass." He was 9 for 11. And then he played the full Week 17 game, which was a game the Packers really wanted to win. And he looked great. The Packers defense ended up giving up 41 points, and they took the loss to Baltimore. But he was really good. 18 receptions, 288 yards, no picks, 60 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, in that game, he looked amazing. But $90 million a year, probably much of it guaranteed, spanning 3 or 4 years for Malik Willis. That is a lot of faith on a guy who's put together 1.5 good games in the Green Bay system. So, man, if I'm the Vikings, I don't think I would want to make that kind of commitment on 1.5 games. I feel like you already have a high risk, high reward player on roster in JJ.
No, I think I'm with you there as well. Malik, it's a scheme thing. Plus, I mean, that's a lot of money to get in on a party with so few reps. Let's do this, Charch. I'm going to pause. I got a couple more names for you, and then I want to dig into maybe 2 or 3 more Vikings bits with you next segment, if that's all right with you. That's Paul Charchian live from Utah checking in. Some Combine Vikings-related talkers here as everything's going on down in Indy right now, and this will set us up for free agency, which will set us up for the draft, which will set us up for 9 to noon, Reconstruction of the Dream 2026 edition. More with Charch next. I'm Nordo. It's the Fan.
Wild fans, this is your season to experience the energy, the goals, the unforgettable moments at Grand Casino Arena. You can get your tickets now. Wild.com/tickets to cheer on the Wild this season. Wild.com/tickets.
Welcome back. Nordo in for PA. Vocal maintenance season in play. And joining me, staying with me from Utah is Paul Charchian, just running through some of the options that are available at QB potentially. Again, the broad spectrum that exists, certainly, and some of the specific options dialing into it. We had mentioned Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, and Malik Willis appearing to be pretty much in step, in tune in terms of just not necessarily interested. Well, Daniel Jones would probably be the most interesting of that group, but the Achilles throws everything into whack. Next up here, this has kind of been a talker, Charch. A year ago, it sounded like we had 2 parties. We had the pro and anti Aaron Rodgers party, maybe even within the building in Eagan itself. And we had a lot of Athletic reporting to the validity of it. It doesn't happen. He goes to Pittsburgh. We saw him, DK Metcalf, 80 yards against us in Dublin, and they found their way to the playoffs where they lost. But Aaron Rodgers, I think that it would be heavily favored that he either returns to Pittsburgh or retires. But what do you think about A-Rod as an option?
Well, first, I think at this time last year, most of us weren't very interested in Aaron Rodgers because he was coming off the bad Jets years. And you're like, do we want that? But the Jets poison everybody. Everybody plays worse for the Jets, right? And the version of Aaron Rodgers that we saw in Pittsburgh was pretty good. I mean, the velocity was down because he used to have a cannon, and now he's just like an average NFL, passer. But the poise, the obvious will to win, the leadership, the guile, it all still seems to be there, Nordo. And, Pittsburgh only had DK Metcalf and basically no other receivers on the team. And he still ended up with, statistically as an NFL average quarterback, 15th in passing yards, 14th in touchdowns. He didn't throw downfield a lot, but again, also the receivers weren't there to do that for the most part. So I don't know. And by all accounts, he got along great with the Steelers coaching staff and players, right? There was all of that. There was all of that with Aaron Rodgers that we didn't know about. Like, is he a poison? Is he cancer? Is he going to make you sign Randall Cobb? All that stuff. None of that came together in Pittsburgh. And it sounded like everybody liked Aaron Rodgers, and he was a professional, and in a better organization. Aaron Rodgers played pretty well last year. And in my mind, I think Aaron Rodgers is if this team really believes the best thing for JJ McCarthy is to learn for another year on the bench, sit back down and watch Aaron Rodgers go about his business for a year. Yeah. Then I'd be in favor of that. I'd be in favor of that. But you have to really have a fundamental belief that JJ McCarthy is going to get good, or else I don't want to put in a 40-year-old quarterback at this point. I mean, that's the only scenario where I want Aaron Rodgers if there's still long-term belief in JJ McCarthy. Yeah, and that's where I stick. I got to be honest. I haven't seen enough of JJ, but what I've seen, I lack faith in. And so, and it's the health as much as it is trying to master the scheme and all of the things that Kevin O'Connell wants him to do. I would be. But then that goes back to my faith in Kevin O'Connell, because I do believe, I think you hit the nail on the head, Charch. If they were to go with Rodgers, by the way, you're not benching Rodgers at any point in time during 2026. So save for a health issue, it would be a Rodgers season. And that would tell me that they believe that there's something there, and that this seasoning period behind number 12 would be worth every bit of it. So Rodgers, yes. Okay. How about this? Derek Carr talking, I can't remember who he was talking to, media, podcast, etc. I kind of mentioned, I might be interested in coming out of retirement if I had the opportunity to win a Super Bowl. Well, I mean, I had Greenway in studio earlier, man. I mean, I'm sure Greenway would want to come out of retirement if he was told he had a chance to win a Super Bowl. So that's that's threading the needle, right? Yeah, get in line, buddy. But Derek Derek Carr, what do you think? Turns 35 in a month. Now, a few years ago, 35 for quarterbacks felt like a death knell. Not anymore. Now we feel like we can still get good play out of quarterbacks at 35. Derek Carr always played for bad franchises in a bad spot, right? Oakland, then to Las Vegas, and then he was on a sputtering Saints organization. He did have, I had forgotten this, looked up Derek Carr yesterday. He had one great year in Oakland. They were a 12-win team, and he finished third in MVP voting in his third season. Derek Carr did. But other than that one year, he's always felt and looked like an NFL average quarterback. Yeah. I mean, the best things you could say about Derek Carr is he didn't throw a ton of picks. He didn't absorb a lot of sacks. It's just he looked like an NFL average quarterback. But that was in Oakland and Las Vegas. I mean, look at, as a connecting point, look at Geno Smith, who looked like an NFL average quarterback for the Saints. Then he goes to Oakland or Las Vegas, and he looks impossibly bad in that organization. So, maybe had Derek Carr not played for Oakland, Las Vegas, and the Saints, maybe he would have been a much better quarterback, and maybe still got good play in him, and maybe he sort of fits, his style of play is a better fit for Kevin O'Connell than most of the guys that we've been talking about. So, yeah, I mean, maybe there's a little something there. I'd like to learn more about him. And, does he still have game left? What does the arm look like? Can he throw a 30-yard out pass anymore? If he checks some boxes and you don't have to pay much of anything, he's still technically a Saint. You'd have to give him something. But if it's a day 3 pick and you feel really confident in what Derek Carr can do athletically, I'm kind of intrigued, Nordo. I mean, do you think I'm crazy to even kick the tires on Carr?
No, as of this moment, as of this list, and really just looking at everything that's out there, it's kind of my favorite option if those boxes are checked. I mean, and I don't know how much of this is just recency, emotion, or the bias of, you see a Phillip Rivers out there and just watching him just basically come off the street. He was coaching high school football a couple weeks ago, and now he's commanding the line of scrimmage in a primetime game in the NFL. So maybe there's recency bias there. But in terms of matching up with what KO wants to accomplish on the field, I think Carr so far is the best match of that bunch. I'd love it. And they have to investigate it, as you mentioned, and how serious is he and all of that. But from an age perspective, if he's healthy, I think he does that, Charch. I mean, it's kind of my favorite option at this moment, as weird as it is. We got a guy, we talked a guy out of retiring, some time ago, had a little success with that, at least for one season. Maybe we can talk Derek Carr out of retirement and roll this thing through. And, what would that say, though? Is that still we have faith in JJ long term, but this could be a 1-year test run with Derek? And because if Derek at 35 finds his legs, has a terrific season, are you moving on from Derek Carr after 1 year? That starts to kind of change the frame of what this means for the future of number 9.
Yeah, I mean, if Derek Carr is a NFL average quarterback, I mean, if the Vikings had an NFL average quarterback starting 16, 17 games last year, they'd have gone to the playoffs.
Yes.
If they can get NFL average play out of Derek Carr, that it resets your timeline for a couple of years to find your next quarterback. So even if you bring Derek Carr in this season and he's functional for you and he starts 17 games and he's decent, to me, all he's doing is extending the timeline for you to go get your next great young quarterback, including if that's J.J. McCarthy or not. I mean, you can't just sit on your hands for those Derek Carr, a year or two with Derek Carr. You'd have to be actively trying to get your quarterback of the future and finding out whether or not that's J.J. McCarthy as well.
Now, there's one more here.
Oh, my God. Kirko, chill.
I saved this one for last, Charch, because clearly you're just going to champion the cause of Kirk Cousins coming back to Minnesota.
Even I can't do it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the Vikings made the right decision, and Kwesi made the right decision to not re-sign Kirk.
Yes.
And let's remember what a bizarre turn of events it was for the Falcons to guarantee the $200 million to Kirk Cousins and 6 weeks later to draft his immediate replacement. I mean, that is unprecedented. You've never seen something like this. And it ultimately was probably the right move to make that Michael Penix selection, who ended up taking over mid-season 2 years ago because Cousins wasn't right off the Achilles. This past year, he ended up getting pushed onto the field when Penix went down. And Penix, frankly, wasn't playing that great mid-season and once he got hurt. I thought Cousins looked okay. He started 8 games. He won 5 of the 8. He threw 10 touchdowns against 5 picks, but the arm, definitely missing the velocity. The downfield passing was bad. Get this on Kirk. On deep passes, 20 or more yards, he completed 28% of his passes, second lowest in the league. I just think the arm and the velocity is just not there for Kirk.
Yeah. No.
So as much of a Kirk supporter as I was when he was here, it's not my preference to bring him back.
As we wrap this whole thing up, Charch, and again, I appreciate you for the time this morning. Just again, scratching surface, trying to dig into names. There are a couple of safeties that are kind of interesting. A couple of running backs, in fact. Like, as this combine, you're paying attention to steam. You're digging into it as you do. Just what is a focus for you out of this week into eventually what will be a busy draft talker season?
Well, the best thing about the combine is you really start to shake out where players are going to go in the draft, which to me is very important as we try to figure out which holes the Vikings are going to fill. We thought part of the whole reason to get a rookie quarterback is so that you could fill holes at other positions and you don't have to have massive need at a lot of places. But the Vikings kind of do have massive need at a lot of other spots. Is it going to be tight end with the presumed cut of TJ Hawkinson? Do we need a new center? Well, probably. Do we need more interior defensive line help? Yes. Do we need cornerback help? Yes. Safety help? Yes. And so trying to shake out who's going to be there at 18 for the Vikings gets pretty interesting, including potentially the top tight end off the board could be there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a center that's worthy of that pick.
No.
You could probably get you could probably get the second best safety on the board if you want to at that pick. That's part of the fun of it, and trying to unearth some other guys that can help you. Need a running back, right? Do we need a running back? Is Mason Jordan good enough to do it by himself?
Well, Jordan, I mean, the issue right now is you talk about pulling levers from a financial perspective. Love Aaron Jones, but 31, 32-ish. Only played, I think, 12 games last year. Injuries have been a concern for him over the course of his career, and he's making big money. You might save $6, $7, $8 million if you did decide to part ways. And the explosive nature of the run game is something this team lacks. And so, PA, and he's a local kid too, so it's fun to root for these guys. But PA's been hot on Emmett Johnson, the local kid who's coming out of Nebraska. Or you think about Jeremiah Love with Notre Dame, but there's a Jadarian Price cat from Notre Dame as well that was a playmaker. So, yeah, running back, that can't be out of the conversation, I don't think.
I don't think it can either. I mean, there's a lot of the likelihood is that Jeremiah Love doesn't get past the Chiefs at number 9. That should be who the Chiefs take, given that they really need to diversify their offense. I think he'll go at 9. And I don't think the Vikings would spend, I don't think there's another running back that's worth spending pick 18 for the Vikings.
Agreed.
So if you're going to go a little bit deeper, yeah, I mean, Jadarian Price, how good of a running back do you have to be to take reps away from Jeremiah Love? I mean, that could be a guy that ends up being a possibility for the Vikings as early as the second round, pick 49 for the Vikings. Jadarian Price could end up making a lot of sense.
No, definitely, man. Hey, thank you for giving me some time this morning, and let's continue to catch up. I mean, we're going to have some financial levers being pulled. There's going to be some news, of course, just a couple weeks from free agency, man. So as things keep happening, keep joining 9 to noon, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. And I missed the St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail.
Come on. In the Indy airport on the way out. We will find a way to make that happen again, my friend.
Unlike any other.
We'll talk to you soon, Charch.
You got it, my man.
That's Paul Charchian.
Right, bye-bye.
At Paul Charchian via X and live from his nuclear bunker in Utah. Love Charch, appreciate Charch. Final segment is next.
We all had that one teacher who believed in us. Well, you can show your gratitude with Thank a Teacher. It's powered by Donors Choose. Nominate a public school teacher to win $5,000 to their classroom. This week we want to shout out Eileen Jenigas, a special ed teacher at Carver Elementary School. Nominate a teacher to thank today, iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
Final segment, 9 to noon on a Friday. And what I've learned after a couple of cool combine shows, some dream weaving, some steamrolling, some conversations, and now just as recent as this last segment and a half with Charch, and even a text message. How about this, Mike in Bismarck? Norton! Hey, Norton! The only option at QB that makes the most sense is the option you didn't discuss, and that's Carson Wentz. So, after all that steamy stuff coming out of Combine, mutual interest, you heard Rhonda Moss, we still don't have any idea what the hell this team's going to do to raise the level of the QB room. Now, talk about raising the level coming out of a pause last night. The Minnesota Wild beat the Avalanche 5-2. And you played some audio earlier from their Vox, Connor McGahey, who is terrific but he's a fan of the Avs. He wants the Avs. He lives and dies like the Avs. He's a mile high Rube in the same way that we are Midwest Rubes. And you said you had some audio for us.
Yeah, I do. So let's recap the first goal. It's like it's a personal attack that the Wild possibly could score against his team.
Very bit. Boldy right down Broadway. Save made, and it's put in by Joel Eriksson.
The pen throw.
So ridiculous that the Avalanche had to even be shorthanded in that situation. I've never seen a more undeserved goal in my entire life. What an absolute shame. Boldy let it go, and Joel Eriksson, who, by the way...
Was it a soft penalty?
I mean, I didn't think so, but
okay.
I'm sure in his mind it was. But every goal, I mean, there's 5 of them. Every goal just gets better.
The task. Up top for Hughes. Boldy again doesn't take the shot. Backdoor feed, thrown in front, and they score. Kaprizov.
I love the silence. Wait a minute. That was a paper crumple and throw. Listen.
And they score. Kaprizov.
That sounds more like a candy wrapper.
Well, now they're saying Eriksson again. So he hasn't scored in this century against the Avalanche, and now he's got 2 power play goals, both undeserved. Tonight, Blackwood, so unlucky.
I love this guy. This is awesome.
Excuse me.
Yes.
From Eriksson intended for Kaprizov. It goes off the right leg of Blackwood and in. He was so good as the Avalanche have been shorthanded for a majority of this period.
Well, don't take that.
Hartman around the outside. Hartman cuts towards the net. Rebound is there. Thrown in front. Back door, and the play goes in.
Good crowded Ball Arena. And the Wild fans having a blast on the road.
No business winning this game, but they're going to.
Have no business winning the game.
Yeah. Listen.
Wild have no business winning this game, but they're going to.
What a jerk.
Oh, God, I love this. And you know what? You know that's a beautiful thing. We're hot on Team USA. Team's back. How are they going to look? They partied. It looked like they hadn't slept in 3 days. They roll up there. No McKinnon the night before, but he's back. And McKinnon probably should have gotten an assist on that Boldy empty netter there towards the end. But the Wild come away 5-2. Man, I love that. I love and I don't love the playoff format. I mean, it's so dumb. You're just cannibalizing the high end talent of your league in the early rounds of the tournament by doing that. But that's freaking awesome, man. I mean, and you know what? In the same way, Volstead fist pumping like he won the Stanley Cup, even though he didn't. They come back, they smack us 5-1. Now we come back, we smack them 5-2. The Avs are so damn good, but your favorite hockey team, our favorite hockey team, is very game for that. And I love the emotion of it from McGahee. These games freaking matter. These rivalries really matter. And looking forward to seeing them handle it with another 2 points tonight at Utah. You'll hear that on your home for Wild Hockey. Thanks to Brett. Thanks to Charch. Thanks to everybody involved 9 to noon, from Fallness to Chris Carter and Chad Greenway. It's Nordowin for PA on a Friday. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for listening to The Fan.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.